And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, today we're taking a look at a small game from Yellow called Rent a Hero. In this one you are trying to get 6 heroes to join your motley crew. It is kind of a bluffing style game. Originally it was a small game from Japan. Well, let's take a look at it. In this game, each person is going to have 2 heroes from the deck placed in front of you. You'll start with 2 of these, so I have the Pyromaniac and the Dog Trainer. And players are also going to have a handful of cards. And what they're going to do on their turn is the player is going to draw the top card of the deck and discard it. And look at the bottom corner. This one says 5 or higher. They're then going to look at their hands of cards, and they're going to look for something that matches that 5 or higher. This is not a good hand. None of them are 5 or higher. So if they don't have a card they can play from their hand, they discard a card, and they'll draw a card and play that card, whether it's 5 or higher or not. They then offer that card to the next person. So let's say I'm the one getting offered the card. I might take it or not. Now I know that it was supposed to be 5 or higher, but it's not. But let's say it was 5 or higher. Then I would say, of course I'm going to accept this, because I don't have a 5 or higher card yet. But the next card says 3 to 5. And so the person looks at their hand and they offer me this card. And I go, oh, I don't know. I don't know if I want it. And here's why I might not want it. Because let's say the card was a card I already have. Let's say it was a 6. That's not 3 to 5, but let's say it was. Then if I accepted it, both my 6s would go away. So when it's 3 to 5, I might sit there and go, oh, they might be offering me a 4. So I can pass on it. It then goes to the next person, and they can take it or pass it on. And if it goes all the way around to the person who offered the card, then that person has to take the card. But eventually, someone's going to get the card. Now, you are trying in this game to get cards 1 through 7. If you have all of them in front of you, you win the game. And so players are doing that. If not, if the deck runs out, then whoever has the most cards is going to win the game. Let me restate that. Not all 7. You need 6 of the 7 to win the game. But that still is a lot, right? You're only starting with 2, and there's a good chance they're going to die. Now, when someone offers you a card, you can ask them for a clue. I can hand that person a card face down. Then they look at it. They will discard it like this so that no one can see what it was. And they'll say yes or no. In this case, they would say no because they do not have a 5 in their hand. So now I know they don't have a 5. And they just offered me this card, and it was between 3 and 5, so I don't want it because I know it's not the one I want. I pass it to the next person who knows I just passed on it, and they think it's the 4 or the 3, and they need one of those, so they'll accept it. You can also, once per game, each use different things that you have. So this discards the Vagabond Hero. That's the person going around a table. You can tap it like this. The Witch will refresh one of your heroes back up. The Wizard lets you draw 2 cards when you tap him. The Black Knight lets you ignore the required strength. So if it turned over and it's the number of players are lower, he says, nah, I'll do what I want in this regard. The Nullified Chicken, if someone else uses an ability of somebody, you can tap them to stop that person from using them. And the Dog Trainer, someone's about to take a card and you say, no, you're not. And you can prevent them from doing that. So that's basically it. The game's going to just keep going until someone gets those 6 heroes in front of them, or the deck runs out, in which case whoever has the most heroes in front of them is the winner. At the end of the rule book, they tell you some differences between this game and the original game. In the original game, the game would only end if you had 6 different heroes. It didn't end when the deck ran out. And I kind of have mixed feelings about this because I feel like the game is at the perfect length with that deck running out. Having that deck run out be the end of the game is a good thing because otherwise the game is too long for what it is. At the same time, if you have 1 hero and I have 5 and we're getting down to the bottom of the deck, you cannot win. And that's a small problem with the game. I like the game, okay? The game is fine and I would gladly play it, but I think this game could have been a lot better. The artwork is amazing, right? The gameplay itself is pretty simple to understand. It takes some people a while, you flip a card and that. And the clue giving thing's a little clunky, I think. But the whole idea of passing a card and you look at it and go, did you just pass me a card I already have? Oh, I don't know. did you? That's the whole concept of the game. And honestly, the more characters that people have in front of them, the more interesting the game gets. Because you get a card, you're like, oh, I got 1, 2, 3, 4. And you just said you gave me a card that was equal to or less than the number of players playing. I don't know. Is that a 5? Is that a 5? I'm not sure. You know, and you're sitting there thinking about it because you're like, there's no way. Of course they're going to mess me up. But maybe they want me to think they mess it up, and so it will pass around. And in fact, because of that, this game works really well with 3 players. Because there's that whole, I want him to pass it to you, and then you pass it back to me. I want the card, or maybe not. And with a big group of players, it's not as good because, for one thing, somebody is going to be out of the running of the game. And so what is the thing for them? Especially when they run out of cards, which will happen occasionally. Their cards will die from just bad choices. They get the card, they'll take it. They get the next card, they take it. They don't care anymore because they're just trying to get up to 6. And if someone doesn't care what they take, well, then the whole bluffing thing goes out the window. So I am approving this game for 3 to 5 players, but mostly 3, 4 is okay. 5 just doesn't feel like it's too many. Good quality components, and the game is good and entertaining. I think it could have been better. The end game could be great or it could be weak depending on how many cards people have. Fortunately, the game length isn't so long that that's probably not a big deal. It says 30 minutes. That's the upper end, and that's really the upper end of where it should be. But if you like bluffing and trying to pass people cards and they're not sure what it is, that's what Rent a Hero is. Dice Tower Judgment, approved.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door.